Welcome to the Masters Watch Party. Yeah, Shambo, he's good, yeah. He hits a wow. I guess you guys really don't want to be here. Really?
Only if it's a win.
You know what that means?
Mr. Miyagi.
It means Judy was too late to sign in. All right, no Masters. You guarantee I'll be watching it later.
Right?
Oh, there it is. That's funny.
There, what is?
O.J. Simpson died. She's giving out news. I mean, this is like breaking news. Who knew this?
That was
We all did.
2 hours ago.
Marshall
I am.
this morning.
All
I
right,
had no idea.
do we say R.I.P.?
No.
No.
I knew that would be the answer. All right, let's get started.
Sorry.
So, you guys had to sit behind the post, didn't you? All right. So we got to start off with our on-time drawing that Judy was late for.
Apparently not.
All right.
It's the color of the day.
You want to know what we're giving away? So we actually have 2 on-time drawings this morning. First is the usual crap. I mean, all this great stuff.
All right.
One shirt. Ooh. 1 Lux magazine. Some notepads and some folders and some
Those
mouse.
folders are expensive, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has a value of $32.50.
No.
More?
Let's just get the cash.
He's got a, like,
$42.50.
Bob Barker.
No, the folders are like, well, the folders are like $2.50 a piece, but
Is
I
there
have-
20 folders in here?
no, there's 4, but there's mouse pads and the shirt
Mouse
is
pad.
25.
The shirt is 25.
Okay.
So, what number do you want me to draw?
6.
6?
4.
All right. Our mouse What's going on here? He's rigging it. You're gonna rig it for you not to win. All right, so the number is 3. Don Bolani. Winner.
Yay.
If any of you don't know Dawn, she's one of our newer agents in the office. Not a new agent. All right. So our second. What is our second?
Number 4.
2 pieces of IPX swag.
She got good stuff.
I do have good stuff, and I will deliver it to you because I forgot it. I'm sorry, guys.
That's all right.
It's kind of a sports backpack thing, the spring sports backpack. And then it's a big ceramic thing.
Number is my number. All right. So this number is number 6.
Hey!
Was that Natasha?
That was Diane.
Oh, Diane. Winner. So get Diane's card or reach out.
Yes, Diane, my email should be right there, and I'll be sure and grab yours.
All right.
Remind me after Diane, I'll go over it.
Okay.
All right. Make sure you check in on Facebook, take some pictures throughout, tag me, tag others around you. And then our Rev Up calendar, I'm going to go fast because we have a lot of ground to cover today. So tomorrow is the residential purchase agreement. Tim is teaching that. These 3 classes, the next 3 classes are in Summerlin. Module 5, working with buyers getting offers accepted. Jeff is teaching that one. I'll slow down on this one. So module 6, holding successful open houses. Your instructor on that one.
Yours truly.
Yep. All right. So if you want to learn more about open houses, if you want to reintroduce open houses into your lead generation, come next Friday, 9 to 11 at the Summerlin office. Our food truck today, there's a food truck out there in the parking lot every Thursday. It's Sean's Puffy Tacos.
Yummy.
It is the original. It says right there. So don't go to the copycats because this one's the original. All right. Now something serious. Every May 1st, we do a 1 day throughout the whole company, all 49 states, 21 countries, all 480 offices. And this is our chance to give back to the community. So if you want to join us, we have a limited number. I think we have 30 allowable. Is that correct, Stephanie?
Yes.
All right. So far, I think we have 20, a little over 20 that have signed up for it. What we're going to do is we're going to go to 3 Square, and we're going to volunteer at 3 Square. What they do, and what we'll be doing is packing lunches for the needy.
Yeah, I've done that before in, when I worked at Wendy's.
Yeah,
It's actually pretty nice.
It's kind of cool. Yeah, it really is.
Oh, no.
I could pose. Come on. So that's May 1st. We're gonna do, I think we're 2 hours down there. It might be a little longer. And then we'll do lunch afterwards. And I'll treat on the lunch as long as Stephanie gives me permission. She is the boss. So anyway, so we have about 10 slots still open. Cinco de Mayo, one of our favorite events every year. Friday, we're going to do it on Friday, May 3rd this year. We do it out in the courtyard. Where is the courtyard? That way?
Yes.
We do it out in the courtyard, 11 to 2. We have Rock Title is sponsoring a taco lady to come in and make tacos for us. We might, is this being recorded? We might have alcohol.
My favorite margarita.
We'll have those margaritas, absolutely. So that's May 3rd.
Uh-oh. Start over. Black bell.
All right. Something else serious. We partner with Charles every year in collecting bottled water. Charles is actually one of our agents, but he heads this up. And we've collected thousands and thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of bottles of water over the last several years. Summer is coming. Summer here in Las Vegas is hot. I couldn't even imagine having to be out on the streets in the summer. So, if we could do just one little thing and provide some water for them, maybe I'll make life just a little bit easier for them. So our goal is 4,000 bottles. We do it until May 15th. So a case of water is just like $3, $4, something like that. So if you bring a case or 2 or 10, or one year, where's Richard? There he is. We went down and got a couple of pallets of water from, where was that?
I think I did a pallet each year.
Yeah, Sam's Club, was that? Or?
Sam's Club.
Yeah.
Costco one time and Sam's Club the second.
Yeah. So, so let's get together and let's get some water. This is something that's going on at the Venetian in July 16th to 19th, the Mike Ferry Superstar Retreat. It's probably been a decade or 2 since I've been to one, but they're good. They're $325 for early bird pricing, which ends April 30th. I'll probably go this year. I'm thinking about it.
Me too.
Yeah, I think it'll be good.
That's not too bad.
I've learned a lot from Mike Ferry over the years. There's a lot of shit out there, and some of it he says. I don't take it. Some people are like,
Oh, I thought this was.
no, to Mike Ferry, but I'm not that way. But he does say a lot of really great things, so I'll probably go in July. One of my other favorite events is baseball. Who's been? We've done this like 2 or 3 years in a row now. It's a fun event. There's a cost to it, it's $48, and it includes food. And last year they gave us a really nice spread. They have a whole section roped off for just us. And so that is, put this on your calendar, it's July 20th, that is a Saturday. It is so much fun, even if you don't like baseball. And if you don't like baseball, shame on you. But even if you don't like baseball, it's a fun event.
Yeah, okay.
Like, Stephanie doesn't like baseball, but she had fun.
It's a great networking.
They sell beer there. It makes you do it.
Yes, they do.
We also.
Now you're talking our language.
Over.
All right, let's talk about some stats. This is as of the 8th. Active listings 4948, of which 3,519 of those are single family. Under contracts, we have 3,500 and 2,400 sold. I think last week we were at 1.9 months of inventory, so that went up slightly because the listings went up slightly as well. It's pretty much the same, but here's the thing is, we're still in a seller's market. I mean, we're still going up against multiple offers on a regular basis. You guys, you know, I'm not writing offers, so you guys are the ones out there writing offers, and that's what I hear from all of you. I've gone up against 5 offers, I've gone up against 10 offers. That's what's going on right now, so we're still in very much a seller's market. Any questions on the stats? So we provide that to you, it's in your newsletter, we put it in the social media. You can grab it and put it in your own social media. You can email it out to your database just as another touch. So that's the stats. Did you say something?
Oh no, I was like, let me delete this.
You need help?
No, I got it.
Just check it. All right, Trisha, what is going on in the home warranty world?
Well, before we get to home warranty, it's going on that everybody wears green.
Yay,
Lots of
that's
green
right.
today. Thanks, green girls. Okay, we're gonna start with, if you are watching television, you may have noticed last week that American Home Shield has put some marketing behind some new commercials. We are trying to always be the leader in home warranty and kind of change the sea of sameness and make it fun. So drum roll for some new commercials. The commercial part. That stuff's the same stuff. Yeah. In fact, I need to change because we got some new commercial. Oh, that way. So I don't know if you're watching streaming, if you're watching some of, if you watch a lot of television, we got some new stuff out.
Oh, I have seen they were good.
We're trying to make it kind of fun.
So
You recognize her from
Bob,
Saturday Night Live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You turn it up.
That's as loud as I can.
There's 3 of them. We'll show one more, see what the next one is. Okay, so there's a few, there's a good marketing, oh, okay, one more. So that's the new catchphrase, don't worry, be warranty. Your buyers and sellers should be seeing it. Will really help some brand awareness for us, so we're super excited. Before we get too deep into it, I'm just going to do some quick congratulations. I don't think anybody came but Kenneth, right? Jake's not here.
Yep.
Is Liliana?
Liliana.
No.
Leilani? or Donovan. You know they lose, but look at what I scored for Kenneth Bailey.
Yay.
Yay for me delivering donations here.
That might disappear out of your office.
Yeah. I'd like to thank my fans. Thank you.
We're all your fans.
So I appreciate that. And we'll just quickly go through. You guys all have my number. You guys need any marketing materials, electronic. I can go on and on about all kinds of stuff. We always know what's the number on that RPA for American Home Shield. Always protect yourself as the agent to get them the best coverage. And I just had this happen. It was really great. A water heater. The reason you always want, what's the number? Anybody? Come on, Kenneth. What's the number?
Wait, what happened?
Nope.
Dollar amount.
Dollar amount. How much do we put in our contracts for our buyers?
Oh,
$695.
603.
I do 475.
618.
475.
The bigger one.
800 and something?
Getting closer. 800 and...
825.
845.
Oh my lord, I'm not there.
885.
815. She's almost the closest. And the reason is, number one, American Home Shield offers the most inclusive package, and that's going to cover your permits and modifications. So, had 2 real life scenarios recently, and you probably hear them a lot. Water heater, right? We're going to replace the water heater, we're going to dispose of it, but typically, there are permits and modifications that need to happen to put a new water heater in. If you do the plus or the essential, not covered. You do the Shield Complete, covered. Okay, so always get that 815, especially for their first year. Once they get comfortable with their home, they can decide what plan would be best for them. Okay? It is spring. If you want a reason to call your buyers and you know you put them in complete, or even if they didn't get complete, a good reason to call your past buyers is, hey, spring is approaching, it's time to do your HVAC tune-ups. Okay, even if they didn't get Shield Complete, we can help coordinate that for you, and it gives you a nice reason and a call of action for calling those buyers. Okay, make sure you have that real estate concierge line, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5-ish. They are available for anything, like, because I'm in these all the time.
Yeah.
So sometimes people call, and I'm like, call the realtor line, because they can help you with if you're going to pay for a warranty for your buyer. You have a service escalation, something's going wrong and your buyer's calling you, all of those things. You just need to put in an order, you're not at a computer, because I always need about 24 hours. So if you're gonna email me, I need about 24 hours because I'm doing these things a lot. So I usually don't get to it till the afternoon. So if you're trying to close and you need an invoice for tomorrow because you forgot to grab one, let me know. But if you have a week, send it to me, I'll take care of it for you. Okay, front door, can you actually click on that? One more quick thing and then I'm done, Mark, I promise. It's another YouTube ad. I like the ads that advertise for me. Okay. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this is our parent company front door.
Connected home is ready to go with option 5 internet. Smart speaker ready to rock.
Oh, you gotta push that skip button here. We're gonna have to get you guys some
It's
big
the
speakers.
volume on YouTube.
I think American Home Shield is gonna buy really want some speakers.
Nice.
It's not that. It's the volume on the YouTube is down low.
Oh.
So it doesn't matter how high you turn the TV. See the little speaker where it's just the one little bar to the left? Yeah. See, you gotta grab that and
There you go.
She's really underpaid.
She really is.
He's in a race.
I give her my stomach.
Okay, so the last thing I have is Front Door is our parent company. You probably are seeing these ads too. They're kind of fun. Front Door is an app. Take a minute, download the app, because there's lots of ways you can use it as a real estate agent. Push the next button. It is like telehealth, but for home maintenance. So say you have somebody, a listing coming up or a home buyer that's one of those, it's kind of a do-it-yourselfer. They just might need a little bit of help, but they're convinced they can do it. It puts them in a video chat with appliance, plumbing, electric, HVAC, and water heater to see if they can fix it themselves or diagnose. I'm really hoping this is going to be great during the HVAC season when it's just a little cartridge or a fuse or something really simple so we don't have long waits, if there are long waits. But think about it, okay? If you are getting ready to put a seller's home on the market, you can suggest it to them. The first call is free. It's $25 after that. You can gift them that program too. But they can start fixing some of their stuff before they go listing. You get an inspection report back. The seller wants to see how much they might be able to do themselves because they don't want to pay anybody. You can use it there. But it's called Front Door. So it's $25 a year. Pretty soon it's going to be on the pro.ahs if you order your own home warranties. That you could add it on to our home warranty program. You could gift it. get it in the pre-listing, look at it from the inspection side. If not, the first call is free. So if you have something in your home that you think you might be able to fix, take a second, download the app and call them and get it, try it out, let me know what you think. Use the experience and give me some feedback. I think that's pretty much all I have today. You guys have any questions for American Home Shield for me?
Yeah, how much is the service every month?
The service?
The home shield.
Well, so we sell it. I do real estate transaction product because we have a direct consumer. So you would have to tell me if you wanted to go monthly because typically we're paid in escrow,
Okay.
right? And it's $8.15 on page 5 of your RPA is the best plan.
Okay.
If you needed that to go monthly, maybe the buyer didn't get a contribution from the seller for it. You can tell me if we can move it to monthly, but typically it's paid up front during the escrow period.
Okay.
So if we put an order in and the invoice is sent to your title officer. Yes.
Is that for the seller and buyer coverage when you have a listing? or-
You would have to let me know you want seller's coverage and we can do that. But if you don't put it on, early enough, it's not gonna have seller's coverage and you click the little button that says seller's coverage.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so Mark's gonna say I'm going too long. I will keep talking about different things. We'll do a seller's coverage conversation. Yeah, he's hooking me. Okay, but we can talk about it and you get 50, and look, I brought you a fan, look. We do also get $50 off plans if you're realtor owned. And my friend ordered a ton, so look, I brought you a fan this time.
Did I get $50 off mine?
Yes, of course I did. There you go.
I ordered mine.
Yep.
If you have any further questions, reach
Thank
out
you.
to her.
Amen.
Okay,
Alright?
thank you guys,
All right.
appreciate it.
Amen.
Thank you. All right. Logtitle's not here, so for all your title in escrow, reach out to Felicia. All right, let's talk about the NAR settlement. There's nothing new to report. I just want to say this is the time where we really need to be sharpening our skills. We need to become really, really good at buyer presentations. We need to start using the buyer brokerage now before we absolutely have to, and they're saying it could be July 14th. I'm doubting if it's going to be approved that soon, but it could be. So just be sharpening your skills, become really good at your buyer presentations. You can get your ABR, get the ABR classes online, or Key is offering them. I think LVR, I think Lee Barrett is still offering. They're all free. All ABR that the NAR has said, all right, well, because of what's going on, we're going to offer it. And it's not necessarily the designation that's really important. It's the education that you're going to get. We had Lee Barrett here teaching it for 2 days last month, and it was really, really, really good. A few of you were here. Dawn, you were here. Who else was here for that? Yeah, so several of us were here. It was good information.
LVR has the next one on April 24th and 25th.
That's full.
8 to 5.
That one's full.
Okay.
Next one's June, I think 28th, 29th. I signed up for it, but they have a few places left.
So yeah, they're selling out quick. So if you want to, they have them online, but online really it sucks. You don't learn nearly as much as if you're in a live classroom.
Is Lee Barrett coming in to teach it again, or that's
He's
it?
not, because NAR told him in order for them to pay him and it be free to us, he has to do it in front of like 100 people or something. So we don't have any rooms that. Luckily, we got it right before that happened. Not lucky for you, but lucky for us that.
It was educational, it was really good.
Yeah. All right. So again, sharpen your skills. Really important. All right. With that being said, Sara Remley is going to talk to us all about 1031s. She is really, really knowledgeable, has a lot of great information, and she provided our breakfast for us, which was amazing. We're all about the food.
Okay. My motto when I was a realtor was feed them and they will come.
Yeah.
That was the same on open houses,
That
by the
is a
way.
fact.
Right?
Yep.
So, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Sara Remley. I'm with Investment Property Exchange Services, better known as IPX 1031. I'm talking slowly as we get the PowerPoint
We
up.
gotta make your computer.
Oh, do I? Okay. I think we were talking about, hold on, technical issue.
Uh-oh.
It looks like my battery died. So.
And we thought we were so prepared,
I
didn't we?
know, and we were a little overconfident there,
Yeah,
that's
we
my
were.
fault, actually, I was not monitoring it. So, thanks for your patience. I should have come over here and been sneaking on it to start with.
It's all right.
Sorry guys, it's gonna take just a minute to start, but I'm gonna go ahead and start. So, and then I will log on as we come up, hold on. Next time I'll roll in at 5 till. We were joking about that, but I got here so early because we're always just worried about tech. Well, good morning everyone, and thank you so much, appreciate that, it looks like, okay, awesome. So, let's start again. Good morning, my name is Sara Remley with Investment Property Exchange Services, better known as IPX 1031. I specialize in 1031 exchanges. I often joke that I'm a recovering broker and realtor. I've been in your shoes and I know how tough it is, but it does allow me a unique perspective when we talk about 1031s, right? I'm not just a tax nerd now. We're gonna want to get rid of this bar on the bottom. Thank you. How many of you have been involved in a transaction that involved a 1031 exchange, just by a show of hands? Okay, awesome. There's a bit of an inevitability if you're a realtor that hasn't been involved in a 1031 investor transaction. It's about 30% of our market here in Clark County. It's also a great part of the market to go after right now. Thank you so much. Heck is a group effort. So a little bit about IPX. We are owned by Fidelity National Financial. I think of us as the gold standard in 1031 exchanges. Someone asked me earlier, exchanges are a flat $1,000. That includes selling a property and buying a property, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as the morning goes on. So this is literally the most important slide of the day. Thank you, thank you. I'm a salesperson too. The source of the source, right? My goal is not to turn you into a tax nerd like me. It's really just to bring value to who you are as a professional, right? Going and talking to investors, those listing presentations, having a little bit of information, and we'll lay that foundation today. I would suggest, and it sounds a little silly, put me in your phone as 1031 Sara. Again, that inevitability, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a text at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Someone goes, oh, I'm so glad I kept your number. Someone last year was at the grocery store in the self-checkout, and from behind me I hear, hey, 1031 Sara. I know, and I went, oh no. It was one of those moments I wasn't quite mentally prepared to be that person, but it was really cute. It was a realtor that lived in my neighborhood. So definitely save my information, right? Being a good agent, I think, is about being the source of the source, not being the expert in everything real estate. So today I'm gonna talk about, and I think I have about half an hour, is that right, Mark? Okay, so I'm gonna lay a foundation. I'm gonna talk about essentially what an exchange is, right? Why investors do exchanges, and we'll talk about the requirements of exchanges, right? Those hoops that your clients have to jump through, time frame, value, and then we're gonna dive into the deep end a little bit. I wanna just add, I call it the realtor tool belt, right? The more tools you have, the more strategies you have available, the more business you're able to generate. So we'll talk about some of the more advanced concepts, right? How does your client buy a future dream home? How do they convert their primary and use both? And then we'll talk about reverse exchanges. That's really kind of in the deep end of the pool. So when I talk about a 1031 exchange, I'm talking about a process that allows an investor, not their primary home, right? Let's say it's a little rental on the corner, right? This allows an investor to sell that investment property, hold on to 100% of their equity, not after tax equity, and this is really powerful. We'll talk about those layers of taxation, right? Think about that. If I'm an investor and I've got that little rental in the corner and I can sell that property and hold on to 100% of my equity and reinvest that, that's quite powerful, right? I could buy 2 or 3 or a whole bunch. So in a nutshell, we're talking about this process of selling investment property, deferring taxes, and buying investment property. I'm highly enthusiastic about what I do, no apologies. I have a passion for everything associated with real estate. But 1031s, this is the foundation of generational wealth. This is how we pass on real estate with a step up in basis. This is how some of the wealthiest families in this country have laid that foundation of familial wealth. And there's a lot of discussion about that in this country, and a lot of us don't understand how those families got there. This is a huge part of that formula. That's why I'm so enthusiastic. It's not tax code, you guys, that I'm enthusiastic about. It's about what we do with what we make and how we hold on to it, right? And by the way, I'm gonna back up a second. I like the questions. I like the conversation. I'm gonna talk about this in the context of real life, that little rental in the corner. Don't hesitate when you have the questions. I'm gonna pick on you, Richard, a little bit. There's a lot of misinformation
We all
about
do.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, good. I felt the vibe right there. There's a lot of misinformation about 1031 exchanges, right? I mean, misinformation and bless the internet, right? I'll have clients that'll go to Wikipedia, read the whole Wikipedia page, and then call me. Like, you could just call me up front. My time is free. I'm a free resource, by the way, you guys. My consultations and time is free anytime. So, we talk about taxation. So again, I'm just gonna lay this foundation for about 5 minutes, okay? We talk about taxation on real estate. There's layers of taxation that we're facing, right? It's not just capital gains tax. We're all familiar with that, right? 15 to 20% right off the top, okay? The reason there's a range there is because it depends on what tax bracket your client is in. This one's a little tricky. Has anyone heard of depreciation recapture, or one of the folks that had an investor client deal with that, Richard? Have you? No? Okay. Bad time to pick on you, I'm sorry. You mentioned that you had a 1031 exchange client, or you raised your hand. Did they discuss depreciation recapture? Was that part of the formula, or did someone just do their job and not bother you?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, good. That's how it should be with QIs, by the way. So, depreciation, okay? My little rental property on the corner. Every year when I file my federal income tax, if I check the box to take depreciation, it reduces that year's tax liability. Kind of, why would I not take depreciation? Except that, this is the IRS, it's not like a little parentheses on the form underneath that box that says, by the way. When you go to sell this piece of real estate, we're gonna recapture or take back 25% of the depreciation that you've taken. I'm kind of broad stroking it. This is a formula. When I take depreciation, it reduces my basis, increases my tax liability, right? But this one's a little bit of a shocker. I had a young couple call me, gosh, a year and a half or so ago. They have 2 commercial properties. They had taken $800,000 in depreciation in a very short period of time, right? So we look at 25% of that on top of capital gains tax. And by the way, when you're in a 20% tax bracket, they're also hitting you with net investment income tax. So your Nevada clients selling the little rental property on the corner, on average, about 25% of their gain is going to go away to taxation. That's here in Nevada, and that's with no state tax, right? Anybody working with clients from California? Am I the only one that they're calling all day, every day, right? Coming in, looking at property on the weekends. So, when we look at the exodus, and we look at taxation, this is my favorite slide, beyond my own contact information. Yeah. I know, thank you, we have to laugh, this is tax code, you guys, otherwise it's a very dry morning for all of us. When we look at state tax rates, and you look at California, your California clients, when they sell that little rental property on the corner, on average, 40% of their equity is going away to taxation. That's incredible, right? Think about that, it's like, right? What the heck, exactly? And by the way, this is really a powerful slide. We look at demographics and we overlay it with state tax rate. There is a very obvious movement of individuals and investors to tax-friendly environments. Not just Nevada, saturated markets in Texas, saturated markets in Florida. I can't tell you how many people are calling me and buying property in Tennessee. It's a zero tax, right?
And this is income tax.
Correct,
State
this is-
income tax.
Well, this is state tax.
State
This is state tax.
So it's like 13.
So the first slide was our federal tax, our capital gains tax,
Yeah.
right, our net investment income tax. You have to add your state tax on top of that.
How much was
It's
the
this
capital
layer.
gains?
What was that?
How much was this capital gains?
So capital gains is 15 to 20%, right?
I take a picture.
No, you're good. You're good. By the way, you guys, if you email me, I'll send you a copy of my presentation. I'll also send you the materials I have here in a PDF. Okay, so I love the question though, because this is, I like when you guys are scared. We should all be shocked by this, because it really helps us to understand what is motivating your client moving out of California. Why are they selling their rental property? And we're gonna talk about a strategy with clients that have maxed out on their 121 in California, right? That primary home exemption, we're all familiar with that. I live in my primary home for 2 years. I have an exemption on gain if I'm a married person. Hypothetically, they're not worth the extra 250K, but I'm just gonna say, I would have 500. As a single individual, it's 250,000 is my exemption. You could, that's like divorce trauma, I feel like, right there, my PTSD moment. So it's capital gains tax on top of state tax, right? We are very lucky in Nevada. Everyone comes here and leaves us their money, right? So we don't have state tax. I know that's controversial, but anyway. But it paints a real picture of what's going on. We talk about movement, right? We talk about what's driving our market here in Nevada, okay? Any questions so far on kind of where we're at with state tax rates and kind of federal?
Is that capital gains off of if you were single or married?
So your capital, I love the question. You're like a slide ahead of me. It's a big compliment, you guys. So I'm gonna talk about a basis, because I can tell you what taxation is, but if we don't understand the formula of how that tax applies, it doesn't make sense.
I don't know, I was just told taxation is theft.
What was that?
Taxation is theft.
All of it? I know. Sometimes they send me stuff and I'm like, who wrote this? Is this like a human? I have to decipher it sometimes, right? So let's talk about the basis. I can't tell you about taxation if we don't understand the concept of a basis in real estate. By the way, this applies to every single, home that we own as individuals and our investment home. When I buy my primary home, let's say I bought it, I'm gonna split that. Let's say it's my investment property on the corner, and I paid $250,000 for it. That essentially is my basis. Okay, it's how much I paid for it's my initial investment. If I sell it today for $500,000, I have a taxable gain of $250,000. Does that make sense, you guys? Right? I'm taxed from my basis to my gain. Okay? When we talk about exchanges, we talk about real estate, we have to understand how real estate passes on and how a basis creates that foundation of generational wealth, okay? So if my basis is $250,000 and I sell it today, I'm taxed on my gain for my basis, right? I'm gonna make you my daughter today because you kind of look like my daughter. So,
That's sweet.
and I'm missing her, so. My daughter, so let's say I have a little portfolio of real estate. I have 2 or 3 little rentals and maybe even my primary home. when I pass away, we're all supposed to have a trust.
I wanna be adopted, just kidding.
Come, my children, please. So, well, I'm about to die, so it's good timing, right? So when we talk about a basis, we talk about passing on real estate to our heirs. When I pass away, and my daughter inherits my real estate, my daughter receives what's called the step up in basis. That means her basis is the market value at the time that she inherited this property from me. It's no longer my basis. Think about how powerful that is. I just passed her a piece of real estate that's worth $500,000, and that's her basis.
So she would be taxed on the whole thing?
No, she's taxed on nothing. She can sell it the next day because she went away for me to die.
And this is
We're gonna talk about two, I know, I'm sorry. We're gonna talk about two different strategies. So, I like how you're thinking though. So, she can inherit this and maybe she inherits 3 or 4 pieces of real estate, right? Maybe she's gonna divest out of one right away. She wants some cash in her pocket, I don't blame her. Her basis at $500,000, she just inherited it. You could sell it for her tomorrow at $500,000 with 0 tax. She has no gain from her basis. Think about how, I mean, that is the foundation of familial wealth, right there, right? But let's say she inherited 2 pieces of real estate from me, that rental on the corner and my primary. Maybe she sells my primary, divests out, she gets that step up in basis and takes some cash for herself. Maybe the investment property, because I did my job right, okay? And I set an example, right? And she saw how I benefited her. She can hold on to that other property. She has a basis of $500,000 that she inherited it from me at, right? And maybe 2 years from now, that property is worth $750,000, right? She now has a taxable gain of $250,000 from her basis, okay?
Now this is incorporated with your whole life insurance and stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, those are different aspects, but it's very important. So we call it, when we talk about real estate, right? And by the way, something that comes up in my world, and I know it comes up in your world, we're gonna talk a little bit more about vesting, right? If I add my daughter onto title with me right now, I just undermined. Because she now shares the same basis that I do. She owns that real estate with me simultaneously. I undermined what I was gonna give her. And by the way, this happens all the time in my world. Probably once a week I'll get a call and they'll be like, well, mom and dad bought the house, they put their son on title just because they were worried, right? There's a lot of, people don't trust the government sometimes, right? We work with a lot of people that come from climates where the government can't be trusted, right? A lot of people don't trust, the trust instruction will be followed by the government, right? So they add a child on or add their sister on, right? Well, I've undermined this because you have the same basis as me. Exactly, I love that you're getting it. We need to have the directions in place, which is essentially what a trust is. It's the direction to the government that says this is what you're gonna do with my assets when I die, right?
So in the same vein, then don't sell that property. Like my son wants our house that we've been in for 20 years, so don't put him on title and don't sell that home to him at any point either.
Yeah, no.
Just make a trust and put them
in the trust.
Exactly, yeah, because otherwise you're jumping the gun on what you're building for him and will pass on. Now, sometimes what happens, and I've had this come up where, and remember, everyone's on their own plan, right, their own goal. I had someone who added their child onto title, they were aware that they were undermining the step up, but the child needed to have assets to purchase something else for themselves, right? So we have to combine, one of the first questions when a client calls me that I ask is, what's your goal, right? What are you working towards? Are you working towards building a portfolio that you pass on? Are you working towards a dream home in Hawaii that you wanna buy, right? So let's move on. We call it swap until you drop, by the way. I'm a simple human, so you can laugh at that. It means exchange until you die, okay?
Dream home or island.
What was that?
I was like the dream home or island that you
Exactly. So understanding a basis and understanding the step up in basis and how vesting works is a really important part of what we do, right? We talk about exchanges and holding on to 100% of my equity. I can do 1-for-1, right? We do a lot of exchanges where someone's just moving the property from one side of town to the other, or an older home into new construction, right? But I can also diversify. Think about that, if I'm holding on to all my equity, I can buy 2, I could buy 5. I saw someone buy 40. Exactly. You're gonna be even more scared when we talk about time frames, right? But think about that, I'm holding on to all my equity, I'm leveraging that over and over and over again, I can really build something. I can also, after I own a few rental properties, never wanna deal with the tenant the rest of my life, right? I can sell 2 or 3 smaller properties and consolidate that and buy one much larger property as well. Okay, so it's very dynamic. We talk about 1031s. Any questions so far? I'm going fast because I do respect everyone's time, and I think I ran late last time. Any questions on where we're at? Okay. Like kind, I think someone asked me this when I was working in the room. Yes, ma'am.
I apologize, I do have one question.
No apologies.
Okay, so if you're giving a property to your children, and you have like 3 children that you're giving it to in your will or in your trust, how does that work with the 1031? They all get that same basis?
Yep, on a prorated basis, right? Because if your heirs are passing to all 3 children equally, right, then they are all the trustees that now all own that asset, right? So it's a proration, because when they sell it, right, I'm gonna back up. Depends on the structure of your trust, right? You can have a trust where you're moving into a irrevocable structure, where that trust now becomes its own taxpayer, right? There's a lot of different structures. But essentially, either the trust, if it's irrevocable, gets the step up in basis as a whole because now it's its own taxpayer. Otherwise, they would have a prorated basis to each of them. Thank you for the question, I appreciate it. So we kind of got into the weeds right there. I heard eyes glazing over. So bear with me, guys. It's a very important question though. So like kind, who thinks like kind is single family for single family? Yay! My life's work is coming to fruition. So I sometimes say I answer this question every single day of my life, but it's getting better. When I was a fresh realtor and I heard the term like kind, I was like, well, that's obvious. That means a single family home for a single family home. That means a duplex for a duplex. This is a very broad definition. Like kind means all real property held for investment for all other real property held for investment. So I can sell a single family, I can buy commercial, I can sell a condominium and buy single family. If you're looking kind of for a new avenue of business, especially right now, our first time buyers are squeezed, right? Interest rates, Richard and I were kind of chatting about this beforehand. Your first time buyers are squeezed. Your bump up buyers are squeezed. Your investors have a different mindset right now. Your investors are like, I'm sitting on a bunch of equity. How do I move it? What do I do with it? Talking about it being a seller's market, unfortunately they have to be a buyer too, right? This is a great part of the market to go after. A lot of people don't know that you can sell land and buy an income producing property. That's a great segment of the industry for you to go after, right? Connect with your title rep. Pick an area. I don't want to be bought. I feel like I'm crossing the line in Boston, but you know what I'm saying? Well, thank you. I appreciate it. There's a lot of opportunity right now to work with investors. They are calling me. Okay, we're busy. They're trying to figure out how to sell and what they're going to buy. Okay. So I also talk about what is not like kind. The only thing I'm going to cover on here, well, I'm going to take that back. Primary residence is not like kind, right? That's my primary home. I talked about this in the beginning. I have that 121 exemption. I mean, you have some clients that are selling that townhome. It's their primary home, right? So they have a different part of the tax code that's beneficial for them. The way I think about real estate and tax code, and a good way for you to connect the dots, use how a property is used is directly connected to different parts of the tax code. If that property is used as my primary residence, it's connected to the 121 with my exemption of up to 500,000. If the property is used as an investment home or real estate held for investment, now it connects to the 1031 code, right, where I have deferral benefits. I have, who was it earlier, the client had a second home? I'm sorry, was that, so you have a client that has a second home. No income, right, no, non-producing. There's no beneficial part of the tax code that applies to owning a second home. When that client sells a second home, it's not an investment, it's not a primary, they're fully taxed. Because the IRS is like, you've got the money, you can afford it, you could support a second home, you don't need a beneficial part of the code.
I have a client.
So if you move a tenant into a second home, how long does it need to be tenant occupied?
I love the question, is
2
that what,
years.
were you gonna, well, not quite, I'm gonna talk about that, that's such a
Go ahead,
wonderful
his
topic.
is, mine's different.
Was that your
Well,
question
mine has an
too?
apartment building, and his is, go ahead.
Okay, so, I love the question mark, so, and this is, there's gonna be two answers here. When we talk about general part of the code, and I heard you say 2 years, Richard. So, the general part of 1031 code does not name 2 years. There's nowhere in the code. I'm gonna qualify this. When we talk about converting, we're gonna specifically talk about a 2-year mark. When we're talking about how long a property needs to be held to qualify, there's a lot of nuance there, right? This is where it becomes a partnership with the client and their tax advisor. I've had clients back up and file 6 months of income and their tax advisor raise their hand and say, I've got their back, and they qualify for a 1031, okay? I've also had clients who after 3 days of ownership of a property received an unsolicited offer, no income ever received, 3 days of ownership, unsolicited offer, someone knocked on the door, that is a 1031 exchange. If the client now, and by the way, that's the smart person that takes that unsolicited offer, and this was new construction, think about how smart that is. They've been under contract for a year, right? They had built-in equity at the time that they closed, they received an unsolicited offer. Why would I not 1031 exchange that property? 3 days of ownership with no income.
Is that because they had never lived in it?
It's because they demonstrated intent. So when I talk about use, we have to talk about intent. When I say demonstrated intent, Mark, that means the property was advertised for rent. That means the mortgage, it was financed as an investment property. That means they were accepting rental applications, okay? And when I say unsolicited offer, I don't mean MLS. Those are completely different tactics, right? So unsolicited offer, 0 income, right, but laid the foundation of use that allowed them to use 1031, okay? When, I wanna expand on that just a little bit. When we talk about the conversion and we talk about 2 years specifically, right, that's where it's gonna get confusing. These are different sections of the code, okay? Did I answer that question fully?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's move on, you guys. Basic rules. Any questions on kind of where we're at? We've laid this foundation about taxation, what I'm deferring, why I would do an exchange, what motivates me. Now we're gonna talk about some of the basic regulation. Everybody still with me?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. No, I know it's a lot, you guys, and I'm gonna keep saying it. Just hold on to my phone number, okay?
Yeah.
That's all you need, is my phone number. So, if I'm going to do a deferral, if I'm gonna sell my little rental on the corner and I wanna defer all my tax, there's 3 basic rules or requirements that I have to meet to defer 100% of my tax. First, I need to buy real estate that's equal or greater in value to what I sold. So if I'm selling for $500,000, I need to buy real estate that's $500,000 or greater in value, okay? Did your clients buy equal or greater in value, or did they buy down?
No, they did.
They did? Was it quite a bit, or were they close?
It was close, and, I guess one of my questions was, there was like 100,000 left.
Yeah.
So I was just curious how bad it gets.
I love that, we're kind of right on target, so we're gonna talk about that. We had a client that bought down in value or had a remainder of cash.
Right.
So I'm gonna qualify, let's say there's a line, right? There's a line where I wanna 100% defer, and there's another line where I can partial exchange and buy down in value and kind of get a combination. For now, I'm gonna stay on the 100% deferral. So I'm buying real estate equal or greater in value, I sell for 5, I buy for 5 or more. All of my cash proceeds need to go into the purchase of my replacement property, okay? If I retain proceeds, which I can, from the sale, or if I have proceeds remaining after I purchase the replacement property, I'm gonna be taxed on that. 100% deferral, all my proceeds are going into the purchase. The third one nobody likes, especially your clients. Your clients, if you go on a listing presentation with an investor, by the way, the first thing they're gonna ask you is about like kind. They're gonna say, well, I'm selling single family, I wanna buy commercial. Yes, you can do that. The second thing that they're gonna be confused about is proceeds versus value, okay? When I say value, that rental property on the corner is worth $500,000 whether I have debt or not, right? It's market value. That's different than proceeds, okay? Your clients usually think, well, I have $200,000 in cash proceeds, and I wanna buy real estate that's $200,000. And I say, congratulations, you will pay all of your tax. You're not reinvesting enough above your basis to offset, right? Does that make sense? My basis, if my basis is $250,000, and I buy real estate that's only $300,000 in value, I'm only deferring tax on $50,000 of gain, right? I'm still gonna pay tax on $200,000. Does that make sense, you guys? Yeah. Okay, but, so that's to 100%, oh, I'm sorry, the debt. So the debt needs to be replaced. The debt is part of the value, okay? I know, and nobody really likes that, but the reason, sometimes I'm the bearer of bad news, sometimes I'm the bearer of good news. It's a fine line in my line of work. The cost of debt is high right now, but it's low in comparison to the cost of taxation. And that's why I start my presentation with painting the picture of understanding tax liability. If you don't understand tax liability as a whole, it makes it hard for you to go out and sell and say to that client, you're deferring $100,000 in tax liability, and your debt that you have to replace is gonna cost you a little bit more, but big picture, you are saving and you are growing financially, right? It's all about perspective in my world, about painting that picture of tax liability, okay? The partial exchange is when I buy down in value, okay? And by the way, sometimes clients wanna get tricky. They do something like this, they're like, well, I wanna hold on to $50,000 of my proceeds, and I'm just gonna have $50,000 more in debt. No, the IRS has seen that trick, right? It's an obvious workaround strategy.
So in his example, when you have the $50,000 left over, what do you have to do with that $50,000?
Well, they're gonna be taxed on it.
Because they can't use that to buy something else?
No, because they probably only bought one, maybe they were outside of the time frame, maybe it wasn't enough for them to leverage into a second replacement property, or maybe it just didn't line up with their goal, right? Sometimes people want to retain 100, think about, we have to go back to this, we have a huge amount of equity in our market. And it's piddly reasons, it doesn't make sense to me why I would hold on to $50,000 and pay 25% tax liability so I can pay off my car.
Yeah, no.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, people don't think it through, but that's what would happen.
So the capital gains is what they would pay on the 50.
Yeah, it's a combination, capital gains, net investment income tax, yeah. And when I say 25%, I'm averaging 20 to 25%. Land, right? People selling land, there's no depreciation factor in land. So my tax is pretty straightforward at 15 to 19%, right? Depending on my bracket. So partial exchange. I want to talk about something when we talk about cash though. Let's go kind of just one step further in that. I had a gal call me yesterday. She's selling a property for $1 million. She's gonna buy 3 properties that are all about $300,000 each as the replacement properties, right? She says to me, but I'm very cash poor. Like, I understand, You can own a lot of real estate and be cash poor, right? In exchanges, the bigger value is always the tax deferral. So when someone says to me, I wanna hold on to 50,000 in cash, I usually say, how urgently do you need that money? The smarter thing to do is to do the exchange. Thank you so much for being here. Is to do the exchange, defer 100% of the tax, wait 6 months, and then do a little cash out refi, right? Leverage your asset at that point. It doesn't cost you any, way better. And usually it's not urgently that people need the cash. Do I have 5 more minutes, Mark?
Absolutely.
Okay, I don't wanna, okay.
You're good.
Okay, I was getting a little anxious on time-wise. So, questions so far on value or where we've been with the foundation? Okay. Time frames, right, we're still at this stage where the IRS wants your client to fail, by the way. Okay, they don't make this easy. Think about this, this is a benefit to you and I as the everyday taxpayer, allowing us to grow wealth. The IRS is not on your side, okay? They're perfectly, exactly. We're nice people, them not so much, right? So, when we talk about the value requirements and all the cash, there's also a very strict time frame associated with 1031 exchanges. Think of this as kind of a ticking clock. It starts from the close of escrow of the property being sold, okay, so the relinquished property. This clock starts to tick, it's gonna go 180 days. That's the exchange period as a whole. So essentially 6 months, right, was what your clients have to close within that time frame. What's really important is the first 45 days. That's the most important aspect, time frame wise, with a 1031 exchange. It's what we call the identification period. It's when you really, really need to get your clients under contract or finding a target that they can purchase. I think you mentioned having a client that was a couple, was it they were a week away from day 45 and they reached out to you? Nothing like a little challenge. 45 days goes very quickly when we are trying to locate and find viable real estate, especially in today's market, right? One of the first questions clients ask me when they call nowadays, what if I don't find something to buy? They are not worried about selling. They know you can sell for them. They're worried about what you can find for them to buy on the other side. So 45 days to identify or find property. I'm gonna throw out a couple of real life strategies here. We start a lot of exchanges with both contracts in place. The contract to sell and the contract to buy. Your investor client does not want you to wait for that clock to start ticking. They want you, as soon as you have the offer solid on the property they're selling, maybe it's through the inspection period, through those initial contingencies, they want you to get them out in the market and get them under contract with a contingent offer to buy something, okay? You don't have to wait for the clock to start ticking, in other words, right? A lot of clients that want new construction now, Mark, what they're doing, they'll go out into the market, they will get the replacement property under contract today. They haven't sold anything yet, they haven't even listed the relinquished property with you yet. But they know, first of all, we can't build new construction in 6 months anymore, right? I only laugh at that. I sold real estate in Hawaii for 15 years, you guys. We never built a house in 6 months. Never. Not one house ever. I mean, we would be a minimum of a year. And people from California would be like, what's taking? I'm like, all your stuff's coming on a boat, okay? And then it's gonna be on a truck. And then it's gonna go to the other side of the island. And if the surf is up that day, it's gonna sit on the truck for a couple days, okay? And then maybe it's a process, right? But my point is that new construction is a different kind of goal. If I want new construction as my replacement property, a lot of clients are going out, getting that property under contract right now, right? Waiting a couple of months until they have an estimated completion date and then saying to you, list my relinquished property, right? I'm not talking about it, did that make sense, everybody? I'm talking about real life strategies, right? Not waiting, but being proactive, right? These are multiple transactional clients that are really valuable. Any questions, you guys? I'm gonna go over these really quick.
So the 45 days is from the close?
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't have to wait for that clock.
You don't have to wait to start, but the clock is from.
That official clock, yes.
And you can it can be earlier.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
So like right now I have a listing and my seller's idea is to take the capital gains and buy a bigger property, like upgrade if you will. And, so I guess while we're in escrow, while the buyer's in escrow for that property, it's best to start looking for another place for her right then and there.
Are they selling a primary home, or are they selling?
No, this is a townhome that she owns. She had another home, but they.
I like all the stories, by the way. I get all the tea, you guys.
Divorce,
Okay, yeah, I know.
Her mother recently died and left her a house
Oh,
in the
awesome.
trust,
I
but
feel like
she's
I
keeping
talked
that.
to her.
No. I
No,
don't think so.
okay,
No.
okay.
had something planned her way.
Scenario, that's why I'm like, wait a second, call me,
Okay.
and we'll talk about that, right? Just depends on the use of the property, does it qualify as a 1031? Maybe,
Right.
right, maybe not, just depends if she's living in it, how long she lived in it, we'll talk a little bit more about that.
She doesn't. She
People are messy. People are, I call it do-it-yourself real estate, right? When I say I get all the tea, I get a lot of stories. Where people calling, well, I lived there for a couple of years, I moved in with my boyfriend, we broke up, then we got married, then we moved into the house. I'm like, wait, and by the way, and then I go, I want the time frame exactly. When did you guys break up? When did you get married? Right? I want all the drama, because it matters, right? Yes, you have a question.
Yes, sir. So, buyer is coming and the seller is trouble. So my buyer become withhold agent.
Yeah.
So after the withhold money, the price will be lower than the amount he needs to invest. So do they consider sales price or the amount after the withhold?
So FERPTA, she's asking me about FERPTA. I love FERPTA because I'm nerdy and I like weirdly complicated things, okay? FERPTA is weirdly complicated, right? We have a lot of foreign investors in this country. In that scenario, so there's factors that, how do I say this? There's kind of a dividing line with FERPTA. It depends on sales price. It depends on the use of the property from that buyer.
Because my buyer is 1031, has to be invested, right?
Correct.
So it's no, like way for.
So when you say it's your buyer's exchange, they sold real estate and this is them buying their replacement property and they're buying it from a foreign investor.
Correct.
So when you buy real estate from a foreign investor, if that foreign investor is subject to FERPTA withholding, it is the buyer's responsibility to fulfill that. A lot of buyers won't buy property from foreign investors because they don't like that added layer. I will say with FERPTA, let's go into the weeds just a little. I talked with Richard earlier about this. When an investor a foreign investor is selling and they're subject to FERPTA withholding, right? If the property is being sold for under $300,000 and that buyer is occupying it as a primary, that waives FERPTA. I know, so there's a lot of components. When we talk about FERPTA being weirdly complicated, there's price breaks, there's use components, so it kind of layers. But some people won't work with foreign investors because there are those added layers, right? From the 1031 perspective, remember a 1031 exchange is a value for value transaction, right? I'm deferring taxes because I'm buying equal or greater in value. Well, if I'm selling for $500,000 and I'm a foreign investor who's subject to FERPTA withholding, that 15% is going to be held by my buyer, right? But I need to have the 15% cash to put in on the buy side. It's a value for value transaction. And withholding isn't tax. Withholding is the government saying, show me the money up front, right? Does that make sense, you guys? Now, we're getting into the weeds of it. Let's move on. We'll talk more about that. Okay. I'm gonna just go through these without going to the slides just yet, because I don't wanna burn up too much of your time, guys. Acquiring a vacation second home. I can have a second home here in Las Vegas that's also an investment rental property. Your clients that own a second home, they don't have the use component as a rental. What the code says is I can use this home up to 10% of the time I have it rented. So that means if my VRBO is rented 300 days a year, I can have personal use of up to 30 days a year, okay? That doesn't sound like much until I own one in Florida, and I own one in Las Vegas, and I own one in Hawaii. Remember, investors are a little more well-heeled, right? I had a gal who sold a commercial property here in Vegas. I just love this plan, by the way. She bought 8 condominiums in the same complex in Florida. Someone got that. She's vacation rentaling them. And don't think she's not bopping from unit to unit to unit. She's spreading out her personal use, and she's so inspired by she went and got a real estate license. That's what happens, right? So, dream home. So when we talk about 1031 exchanges, we're talking about investment for investment, right? We're not talking about something I can immediately move into. I can buy something that's a future dream home. I can sell my rental property on the corner here, and I can buy a home in Hawaii. I need to rent it for 2 years. This is where the code is super, super specific. We talk about converting the use of a property. From the day I buy that property, I've got to hold it for 2 years and rent it for 2 years, and then I can move into it as my primary, right? Remember that step up in basis with passing real estate on to my heirs? Not everybody has heirs. Not everybody likes them. I get that too. They're like, no, my child needs to work as hard as I did. I'm like, okay, right? Or no, I'm not passing anything on to my children.
So you can keep a home?
Yeah, I can sell my rental. I can rent it for 2 years, and then I can move into it and create it as my primary. Right? Think about that. If I did that, maybe I don't have children. Sorry. Okay. So casual about it. Think about that. Maybe I don't have children, and I built a little portfolio of real estate, and I don't have anybody to pass it on to. I can buy myself a beautiful dream home. I've got to hold it for 2 years, no less, as a rental. This is where that code line, and then I can move into it. And then think about this. After 5 years, I've moved into it. I had a deferral. After 5 years, I've reestablished my 121 exemption. Yeah, there's a lot of dynamic when we talk about 1031s. How do I layer it? How do I combine it? The last thing I want to talk about, I don't want to talk, reversals are really kind of their own animal. I don't want to get into that too much. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about combining. Because a lot of your clients coming out of California, so I grew up in the Bay Area. And I have friends that bought real estate back in the 80s. I don't want to age myself too much. And let's say it was a 3-2 in San Mateo for $300,000. That house is now worth $3 million. And this is very, very common in California. A lot of your clients there have a very low basis and a piece of real estate that's worth an incredible amount today. So think about that. If I sold that piece of real estate today, I'd be taxed at a 40% rate out of California on $2.7 million. You think they're not gonna be like, yes, please, hand it over, right? So what a lot of those clients are doing, they're buying a home here, their little retirement home, they're moving out of this primary and renting it for 2 years. And again, this is where the code is super, super specific. I can move out and rent it for 2 years, no less. Now when I sell it, I have a combination of tax strategies.
So you have to sell?
Well, I mean to get money out of real estate.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so but think about when I sell that, I had already established my 121. So when I sell, I get that $500,000 tax-free, and then anything over, I put into a 1031 exchange, right? This is really, really commonly being used by a lot of investors. A lot of your clients, when you go on those little listing presentations, they're asking you, can I buy something to move into, right? Or what about this strategy, or what about that strategy? Any questions, you guys, before I finish up? Okay.
I'll call you.
Okay.
A lot of what
I
you're
saw
sharing,
the question, I
yeah.
saw the question
It's a lot
flash
of
by, I was like,
information.
wait, there's a
Yeah.
question. Okay, any questions before we kind of move on? Oh, okay. Richard? No, you've been so quiet. Is it usually this quiet, or is it me? It's me? Okay, all right. I want to talk about one other thing that's happening in real estate right now before I finish up. And we have to talk about DST properties. We have to understand what's happening in the commercial world of fractional ownership, right? If we're trying to drive business with investors, what are investors being driven to by their financial advisors? Sometimes it's real estate, but a lot of times what it is nowadays, it's a DST product. DST means Delaware Statutory Trust. This is a corporate structure out of the state of Delaware that allows a corporation to build a large piece of real estate and sell you as real property 2%. And sell you as deeded real property 5%. Deed you are 10%. Remember Vegas South Beach when it sold a summer and a half ago? That was a DST project. There were 300 owners that came out of that sale. So 200 of them were doing exchanges. So your clients are moving in and out, and what's interesting about these, and this is not something new, this has been several years. Your clients are moving themselves in and out of real property and fractional interest and tax benefiting in multiple ways, right? If I'm aging and I don't want to divest out of my real estate, what a lot of clients are doing, selling all that rental property, buying fractional interest in commercial pieces of real estate. It's a really important part of the market that you're working in that you need to be in tune with, right? Connect with a financial advisor. Because if you go on a listing presentation, right, you go and they're like, I want to do a 1031, I'm tired of managing real estate. If you have a referral with a financial advisor, you create the opportunity for you to not miss that sale, right? If you're the realtor who doesn't know that or have that information, and they say, I don't want to sell if I have to buy something, you're closing the door for yourself. Does that make sense, you guys, right? We want to have this broad understanding and what's happening in all of real estate and the financial world and how those things tie together. That was kind of all I had, you guys, unless there were more questions. I know it was a lot. If you're able to leave a review of the presentation, it really means a lot. Anything else maybe I didn't cover, or you'd like me, please no.
I did have a question.
Yes.
So I had, not that long ago, I had an investor client. She got divorced, they had to sell some stuff, she got several $1 million, so she had to buy a bunch of properties for 1031.
Yeah.
We put her in contract and with like 4 homes, and she was really scared that what if one of these don't close? So what we did is we just identified several more properties just in case. So,
Yep.
So a lot of people think you have to put an offer on to identify the property. Not the case, correct?
Absolutely, I love that. That's a really, really important point, right? And her math was a little different. With your normal residential clients, they can identify 3 properties. There's a 200% rule, which is what your client used, but that's really an important message. Get them under contract on one that looks pretty solid. You can give them 2 backups. They can identify 3 properties, so if that one drops out of escrow, they've got something else they can buy. But that's exactly right. The client is so worried because if they're not able to accomplish the purchase, they have a big tax bill, right? But yeah, so identification, you can give them a couple of backs up, use the max rule, if that makes sense. So, thank you.
Any other questions for Sarah?
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you. You're such a great group. Thank you so much for being here, everybody.
Thank you all. Remember, no matter how you slice it, greatness is a choice. Let's go out there and be great.